Hello, everybody, and welcome to Turbo Boosting Your Practice. These are the sprints, and today's episode is about contact strategy and relationships. Contact Strategy 101. Your contact strategy is about how you communicate with your customers in the correct manner using the appropriate channel at the optimal cadence, right? How do you speak to those customers? How do you get a hold of them? How do you remind them about services? How do you get them into your practice? How do you get them to repeat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What does that even mean? So what it means is every different way that you communicate with somebody, it's really a contact. Whether you're calling somebody, sending an email, sending a text, sending a postcard, having an event and seeing some of your customers or prospects, and in store. So you want to make sure that you're communicating at the right cadence and you're staying in front of them. Right? So it could be anything from just information about your practice to information about conditions, being proactive. It could be a reminder for an appointment. It could be an annual reminder, or even just letting them know that it's their birthday or anniversary by sending them a quick email or sending them a card. You want to make sure that you're there for them all the time, so when they're ready to come in, you're the place they go and they don't have to search for another alternative. And it's a process, right? It's not easy to figure out, but you want to document it and put it together so you can plan accordingly, right? And it may be somebody submits a lead form, and then you have to you call them once the next morning, then you call them the next day at night, you text them, then you call them again a little bit later, you get a hold of them. You send them a postcard to remind them about their appointment. You send them a text to remind them, or you call them. And so you map it out on a spreadsheet, right? You figure out exactly what you want to do because it's not easy, right? Like we said, it's it's the right cadence. And so, there are some industries where they contact the person multiple times immediately after they request a call. You have to remember that the lead requested a call and that they want you to call them. But it's not always easy for somebody to pick up the phone or to respond to a text or to call you back. They could be at work, they could be with their kids, they could be out to dinner. You shouldn't take it personally. And just because they don't answer doesn't mean you shouldn't call back. We'll talk about what happens later if you call too much. And you want to map out once the appointment's scheduled, how do you then want to communicate with them, right? Do you want to continue to educate them? Say there's an appointment for a chiropractor. Do you want to educate them about back health in the meantime, right? All of it is because you want to be a good partner, but you also want to keep them engaged so they don't forget about your appointments. Then you want to say, okay, how do we remind the person about this appointment? Do we email them 48 hours before? Do we call them 24 hours before? Is that too late? Do we try to get them 72 hours before with a text? Those are the things you want to decide and put together a plan, because it's let's face it, it's not fun and it's not exciting when you're calling somebody and they're not answering, and you're afraid, or somebody in your team is afraid, that the person may not be happy that you're calling. And so what happens is people don't make those calls or don't send those communications, and your show rate will go down, your no-show rate will go up. And that's what you want to try to avoid. If you have laid it out on paper and you've all agreed to it, then it's much tougher to push it off to the next day or the next day. So we talked about earlier, can you contact someone too much? Yes, but most practices aren't anywhere close to that line. Odds are there's way more opportunities by getting a hold of that person and getting them to show than somebody who's getting upset, right? Don't forget, you are not getting these people out of thin air. You're not dialing for dollars out of a phone book. These are people who have requested appointments, and you're just following up with them to make sure that you can help them because they need help, and then confirming that they're going to get into your practice or your office. So I wouldn't worry about upsetting people. You'd have to call somebody a lot in order to upset them. But what if they do get upset, right? You can add them to your do not call list, you can add them to your do not text list, and you can unsubscribe them. It's not a big deal. Don't take it personally. When someone doesn't want you to contact them anymore, you say, thank you very much, we'll add you to our list, and you move on. But ultimately, this process is about getting the right communications out via the right channels and the right cadence so that you can optimize your relationship with your patients, right? And that is about educating them. That is about around appointment scheduling. Another good contact is if somebody misses their appointment, right? I believe in having a rule that says, 12 hours later, 24 hours later, an email goes out saying, sorry, we missed you, right? You don't want to blame it on the customer or the patient, although it may be their fault, but you keep it, mellow, and you say, hey, sorry, we missed you. How do we get you back in the center? And you start the process all over again. I think contact strategy is really exciting. And when you find a good contact strategy that starts to improve different parts of the customer buy cycle, it is really exciting. If you're focusing on your show rate, this year, then how do you get that show rate to move from 50% to 55%? And the impact on your bottom line can be very significant. Let us know if you have any questions. Appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.